it is Kristi. It is Sunday. Welcome to Weekend Winters. I hope you're doing well. Sorry for the... Oh, wait. I don't have my coffee. I don't have my coffee, and that is obviously like a moral imperative. So let me go ahead. Get that. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Right here. Right here. All set now. Hey, how you guys doing? I actually tried to organize my lighting today and sort that out before I went live, but that doesn't mean I'm organized. Yeah, I was, faffing about, as they say, a bit too much this morning. But that's alright, because this is a cool, chill show, and we're just gonna have a bit of fun. Yeah, I'm a little bit late because, one, lighting. I still haven't worked on my lighting. Working on that. Center myself a little bit more. Perfect. And, what was the other thing? Oh, yeah, just my hair. Like, my hair takes a lot longer to organize when it's really long, so yeah, I look super cute, and that's worth it, right? Anyway, we today are gonna have I'm gonna do a little rant. Money. Yeah, we're gonna do I'm gonna have a little rant. Let me pop out the chat so we'll be able to see you guys. About Richard Dawkins, and like, science guys might know how to produce scientific results according to the scientific method as is currently constituted. Aw, thanks. You love my hair. But the fact is that they don't know much about like how it works philosophically. For instance, it's like being able to drive a car really fast and make it perform incredibly well, but then not knowing like how it actually works inside, like what goes into it to make it be able to do that. Also, I've noticed, something about when you get really bright lights, you really see all the crap on your glasses as well. I'm like, oh my gosh, I see just like, I don't know, bits of water or something, a hairspray or whatever that I'd thrown on there. So yeah, me without glasses. All right, so we're gonna have a little talk/rant about the philosophy of social science and, well, the philosophy of science generally. And if you have, I know we've done this before, so maybe we can kind of have a little bit of a Q&A to go along with this, because I feel, on the one hand, I feel like it's super repetitive. On the other hand, I feel like someone needed to talk about this because this is just like ridiculous. So before, as I am searching for my thing, I had a bookmark somewhere, but I can just do Richard Dawkins. If I spell Richard right. Dawkins, Twitter, science, social. Now, we did look at this a bit at the happy hour earlier. He's still wrong. Look at this. Social construct, forget it. Race is a biological... Dude, how can you be so smart and so ignorant? So ignorant at the same time. Race is biologically real. No, but the elements that constitute the social construct of race are real, but the groupings to which we give them, or the order, or the preference, or the rankings, are entirely socially constructed. Why did I do that? I moved, go back. Okay, no, this is the one. All right, we're just gonna have to do a smackdown of Richard Dawkins, because he's out here. I don't think postmodernism is to deny objective reality, and besides, when you're saying objective reality, that too is an incredibly loaded term. So, yes. Did I see his follow-up to the sciences? And here, there's also one here, like the next day. Yes, we can look at that. I mean, he's still wrong. And of course, I always love it when someone who says something completely ambiguous comes back with, well, obviously what I meant was. Well, like, no, obviously not. Otherwise, you wouldn't have created such a controversy. Okay. Yes, Advit, I hate to disappoint you, but Kevin's not going to be here this morning, so I hope you know that's okay. Hi, Pasta. Hi, Advit, Adiv. Who else is that? DN fan, Sib Wolf. Hello. Pandanus Rex in the chat. Rumor with legs. Nil Magnifico. Hannibal and the Lucky Wanderer. So, oh, that's just the top chat. I need to see the live chat. See what all y'all are doing. Yeah, I'm really trying to figure out what people in the 20s did with their hair. Anyway, let's talk a little bit. Okay, let's look at, all right. First, let's show you. Is that the one? No, that's not the one. This is the one. Yeah, this is the screen I want. Although it's a little bit lower, so let me just pull. Bam! Woohoo! Look at us go. All right, I am scary lit. Like, I'm lit in a seriously scary way. I think it's because the back room isn't lit as much, and so I look a bit overexposed. I wonder if I can fix that. All right, now we're gonna look. It's like how well can Kristi multitask? Bedroom lights. Can I edit this? Come on, let me edit it. No, you ain't let me do an edit room or move lights. It looks like I can edit the lights, but I can't sort of like make them of a different brightness. So I'll do. Let's just bring that up a little bit. See if that evens it out. Otherwise, I can always do the magical thing of you just throw some tissue paper or Kleenex over a light, and that really softens and diffuses it. So I'll just do that. Hopefully that'll help. All right, see, if I did this stuff before the show, but that would require me getting up like a half hour earlier on a Sunday, and I just can't seem to do that. No. Okay, let's talk properly about Richard Dawkins and his misunderstanding of social constructionism. And why postmodernism and the idea of a socially constructed reality isn't a threat to freaking anybody. It's not. I just feel like Richard Dawkins has really firm opinions on things he doesn't quite understand. Oh, right. Okay. Richard Dawkins on the 6th of March writes, "Science is not a social construct." Okay, already a problem. Just defies common sense, in my opinion. Science truths were true before there were societies. Social constructionism has nothing to do with that. Will still be true after all philosophers are dead. Also irrelevant. I mean, true but irrelevant. There were true before any philosophers were born. Were true before there were any minds, even trilobite or dinosaur minds, to notice them. Again, observations are not scientific truths. There's a whole lot of conflation here going on in the and what I'll do too is I'll read this out, and first rather than me lecture, why don't we have something in the chat? Why don't you guys kind of like start coming up with some ideas as to why Dawkins is wrong? Because rather than me sitting here and explaining my perspective, which I'm happy to give, otherwise I wouldn't be doing a show every week, but I want to talk about what you guys perceive in terms of the process of like, how do we produce knowledge in the world? What is your take? Oh, there is a picture of a very cute cat. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong screen. Well, who doesn't want to see a cute cat? If I'm honest, right? Okay, so let me move Kitty. I'll move Kitty down to the bottom. That way Kitty won't be in the way, but Kitty will still be cute and on the screen. I was protecting you all. I was protecting y'all from the nonsense of Richard Dawkins. All right, so there it is. I can actually even make it a little bit bigger. I'll go ahead and blow it up so that it takes up most of the screen. So it's really all y'all can see. All right, so first tweet is a conceptual mess, in my opinion, and I'm happy to explain why. And next he writes, obviously, by science truths, I mean the truths about the real world that science aspires to find. Okay, again. So wait a minute. This is a conceptual mess. Science truths. I meant the truths about the real world that science aspires to find. Oh, real world. That's an interesting take. Like, so real world implies that there's a different world than the real world. I mean, why would you say real world? I mean, do you mean material world? And so anyway, yes, obviously, by science truths, I meant the truths about the real world that science aspires to find, not scientists' belief during any particular historical era, philogist and whatever, etc. My point was only that there's such a thing as objective reality denied by postmodern suits. Again, the problem with Dawkins is he doesn't understand it seems to me like he doesn't understand the alternative understanding, conceptualization. and that he's using terms that are actually really loaded in terms of like what exists and what doesn't exist and how does it exist and how can we know it. So to like say that somehow, obviously what I meant was like, no, it's not obvious because you're using very loaded terms. All right. Wait, does he think trilobites and dinosaurs don't have brains at all? I think, it all comes back to me to the process of knowledge production. And if you don't have, knowledge about how knowledge is produced is itself a socially constructed activity that you have to break down. So I don't want to say here that like I know what exists, how it exists, and how we can know it. I know I have my understanding and what I think is the best mapping of my experience of reality and knowledge production. Richard Dawkins is essentially a chauvinist. I agree. And I want to give that perspective, but on the other hand, I want to see what you guys have to think as well. So Pasta, don't worry if you are a little bit tired, no worries. Okay, so should we start in the chat? As I said, I try to lead you up to this, to say, what is the problem? Let's take these tweets one at a time, because he's still wrong. Right, science is not a social construct. Right, so making that declaration first requires that Dawkins understand what a social construct is, and I don't think he does, because he seems to think that social construct are things that either that don't exist. What he fails, I think, this is where Dawkins fails, right? That we have multiple modes of existence when it comes to human capacity. So we have our material existence, right? I've got a table made up of non-table things. I've got a microphone made up of non-microphone things. And by that I mean a table is made up of, maybe 4 pieces of metal and a piece of wood, or maybe one piece of wood balancing a piece of wood. And none of those pieces of wood are table, but when we assemble them together and they perform a certain function, we recognize as like a place to set things on. That now becomes a table. It doesn't become a table and it magically obtains a table property. Instead, how we regard that table, or how we regard that assembly of objects, shifts. If we just saw on the ground 4 wooden bars and a flat board, we would not call that a table. It is not correctly assembled to meet the definition of our understanding of table, and it does not perform the functions of a table. Therefore, it is not a table, right? It is still all the material components that a table also can constitute, but it does not meet the criteria for being a table. Once we go and get our IKEA Allen wrenches or whatever, we put it together. Now, voila, it is appropriate to label that a table. Nothing materially about that object has changed. Nothing about its material reality has changed. Merely, it has now been assembled in a way that other people and we recognize meets the definition of table. And so it now transforms in our minds only, into a table. In the material world, it's still just a random collection of atoms and stuff that, has been manipulated to put together. Table doesn't exist separate from human minds, but now it does in our minds, in our world, until something happens to it, like it sets on fire, or a table leg is broken, or it's cracked in half, or whatever else, or disassembled. It is now appropriate to call that thing a table. And who decides that? Only we do, with our minds. All right, so I'm going to see what you guys have to say in the chat about this. Let's have a little discussion. Like I said, I don't want to just lecture at you because y'all heard my ideas before, so I want to hear what you guys got going on. Okay, extremely cute kitten though. Is this my equivalent of Kevin's cursed images? Yes, but on a Sunday morning we can't handle super disturbing images. It's too much. All right, Lucky Wanderer says, pretty certain he's confusing the existence of reality with how we understand reality and the process used to construct that understanding. Exactly, the Lucky Wanderer. So, again, ontologically, and ontology means what exists. And it is sort of prima facie. It is self-evident that material reality exists because, well, we start off with human bodies, right? However, seeing that layer of concepts through which, we label things is much more subtle. Right? We tend to accept without questioning, that generally our impressions of the world are reliable. They're not always reliable, but generally we can trust our senses, with an understanding that occasionally we can't. So, right, and that, how that material reality and our understanding of it and our process of understanding it further, constructing knowledge around it's very different. Real world, yeah, that's an interesting term, isn't it, Salvation? Real world is a very loaded term. And I would say that personally because I think that I don't think that humans can perceive the real world. Now Dawkins talks about objective truths or something. Objective truths about the real world. I can't remember. I thought he said something about objective realities. Where did I miss it? Oh yes. My point was only that there's such a thing as objective reality. Okay. All right. First, I'm going to pause. I'm going to move my microphone up a little bit because I noticed. Oh, I got like a whole new setup going on, you guys. It's so sweet. I got a new plastic thingy for my laptop, so I'm not balancing this thing here on a cardboard packaging box that I recycled as a table stand. All right, I had to go quiet for that. Otherwise, it would have just really blown your ears out. Although I do. Oh, sorry for the squeak. Oh, that was just me adjusting my pop filter. All right. Real world. How can you say humans can perceive the real world, even with instruments? Like, I don't think that we can perceive the totality of existence. And for me, I guess the best accurate description of everything that exists, including those things outside of our perception, would be to call it the totality of material existence. Like that, but that isn't all of the real world. I mean, what is the real world? It's a real world we just, like, because we have a real world that we exist in our minds in terms of how we operate. But if we want to distinguish it in that way, and human beings cannot, or we struggle. We have to build special tools to perceive things outside of our natural senses, our natural innate senses. So this idea that, yes, there's a real world out there is itself a very loaded term. All right. Adiv, I'm a layperson, by the way. I'm unironically a DA. Okay, and you're like, hey, the fact that someone who understands that they have yet to understand something perfectly makes you more self-aware than Richard Dawkins. Because at least you know what you don't know. And he thinks he knows what he knows, but he's wrong. Yeah, the world as he perceives it correctly. Aqua Pasta says, science is generally socially constructed. Exactly. Just because things we are discovering already existed doesn't mean the things we come up with isn't constructed by humans. Correct. Yes. And there's a difference between something existing independent of human existence, our being aware of it, and then our sort of like giving a name to it and labeling it and acknowledging it as part of life. So that seems a little bit slidey. Can I give an example of that? Yes, I can. All right, let's think about the theory of evolution. Right. The process of evolution, evolutionary forces, pressures, outcomes, natural selections, sexual selection pressures, all of those things existed and were around us, surrounded us before Darwin gave a name to them. So we can exist in the midst of natural phenomenon like gravity, like the theory of evolution, and it's real. We just don't know about it. So our knowledge of it isn't required for it to exist. On the other hand, it doesn't exist for us until we can label it and give it a name. So I think that's, there is a certain process here that I will talk about in terms of how I tend to think things exist and we exist and how we know about them. But yes, precisely. All right. You said things perfectly well. I think I understood you. But if I haven't, correct me in the chat below. Right. Fundamentally here, the problem is Dawkins does not know what a social construct is, yes, and is operating on a reactionary narrative surrounding that term, precisely. Dawkins is a neocon, potentially. I don't know if that has to do with his ontology of what exists and what doesn't exist, but all right. Where did I moved? Okay, there we go. So if you close the refrigerator door, does the light stay on? Yeah. Are we climbing mountain? Improbable. Not sure if it's a conservative thing. I think there's undeniably a fierce propensity toward having and defending certitude that manifests in people of extreme privilege or power. Yes, I think it's because this idea that, I do think that there are people who find the notion of questioning existence and what really exists quite threatening. Not because it is, but because it challenges their worldview more than it challenges what the nature of, like, what exists is. Also, the idea that science isn't socially constructed implies that science itself is an objective and unchanging thing. Very good. Yeah, Lucky Wonder, that's a wonderful point. I mean, science has evolved philosophically. Even into the 20th century, science was still being refined. Everything is a social construct. Science can refute previous science, absolutely, which shows that it is corrigible, right? And therefore it is not a fixed truth. It is not reality, objective reality, right? If facts can change, then clearly they were not truths. They were constructed to be as close as truths as possible, but were not actually independently true beyond our construction of them. Material reality exists, but everyone's material reality is different, which is how I think about why philosophers unfailingly trend towards knowledge who've been exclusively members of elitist of elite until recently. I might have misread that, the neo-rip, so apologies. So Lucky Wanderer is quoting Dawkins here, quote, "My point is that there's such a thing as objective reality," unquote. Sure, no one denies that, but we can only ever have a subjective understanding of it. Yes, however, we try to aspire to objectivity by the collection of subjective experiences in order to evaluate whether those subjective experiences are consistent across subjects. Right? And so I would make the claim, the assertion that that our version of objective reality are those things that we perceive through the experience of our human bodies, brains, perceptions, and limitations that produce a consistent outcome across time and across individuals and can be independently verified. So let's say, a mathematical representation of gravity, as long as, if the maths will work because it is representing something that is functioning. And I think that if you triangulate enough experiences, that you can establish certain types of patterns that you can say are we subjectively perceive, but they perform in an objective way. So we're measuring something that is not merely a reaction to our impression of it, like a rainbow is a purely subjective experience unless someone is standing right next to us. Like someone standing on a field directly, like, in a different direction won't see our rainbow. Now, that doesn't mean that in our sight perception, our rainbow doesn't exist, but they can't verify it because they aren't located in the same place. Right? So the experience of a rainbow, I would say, is like a subjective personal experience as opposed to, say, the experience of gravity, which doesn't rely on a certain special set of conditions. Does that make sense? Okay. How do I know you are all real, not a figment of my imagination while I dream? Yeah. The only way you can do that is through triangulation through others' experiences. But however, you're assuming that those people are independent of your experience and they're not part of your dream. You get pretty, brain in a jar sort of way. All right, so I come into this channel, I get an advert for Golf TV. Why? All right, sounds like a conservative teacher describes adulthood. I'm trans, a gamer girl, the Lucky Wanderer replies back, I am definitely a figment of the imagination because only someone's imagination could make me so perfect. Oh, hi, Pumpkin, back to Awkward Pasta. Sorry. All right, Corn Boy dinosaur jokes. Papa Bird Jake. Yeah, Papa Bird Jake, he was the one who, in the middle of a conversation, told me that he would suck my dick, and then that I was a prude, and I should not be embarrassed to talk about BJ's with a complete stranger. He was very aggressive and rude, so Papa Jake can go F himself as far as I'm concerned. And didn't he have some problem with his people in his trans community, like the mods too? I don't know if he's gotten any better from that, but he came after Kristiosity for defending me, and he was a jerk. Complete sexist ass. I'll just say it, if I lose the demonetization, oh well. Really, really, very edgelordy kind of guy. Not that cool on issues of misogyny, and yeah, got some patriarchy issues. All right. Oh yeah, Adiv. Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely pretty contemptuous when it comes to feminism. At least it was about 2 years ago. Not at all respectful, happy to throw out sexual innuendos in a discussion with a woman he didn't know in order to humiliate her online. So, bad. Yeah, you can be good on some issues and trash on the other, and Jake is an example of that. Okay. Oh, yeah. Like, literally in the middle of a conversation, I was like, oh, yeah, I'll just suck your DICK. I'm like, garbage. All right, and let me get out my... All right, so it's time for Kristi to go off on her little rant right now. I'll just open up this PowerPoint. Let's see. Even maths is socially constructed. Absolutely. We use a base 10 system, or other cultures used base 3 or base 12. In a society, we've ascribed meaning to those numbers. Absolutely. Yeah, Jake used to be, I mean, I was actually a fan of the Bible Reloaded. It wasn't that great on scholarship. I mean, they weren't biblical scholars. There are better people out there for actually understanding some of the passages in the Bible. But it was an entertaining show. And then they started flirting with the idea of having Milo Yiannopoulos, because they had Sargon of Akkad, on as a guest. I don't know if you know this. They had Sargon of Akkad on as a guest. They had a couple of other really dodgy AF types on their show as is this the, let me open up a different one. Yeah, and then on their show they started saying, oh yeah, we want to get Milo Yiannopoulos on here. This was before he was deplatformed, and Steve Shives told them not to do it, or Steve Shives ended up having a fight with the Bible Reloaded over their like playing footsie with Sargon of Akkad and Milo. And I was of the same opinion. Okay, I wanted this one because it's got a better a slide. It's a dark background. So, okay, this is what I do sometimes in my normal job, which is to do educational stuff on how to make videos. All right, so where's my, no, I want a new slide. There we go. Just a normal empty slide. No! Stupid thing. Okay. Right, so, at some point, they ended up not getting Milo on the Bible Reloaded. And there was a later time where something came up where they were talking about something, and maybe it was about Milo, and I was like, hey, you remember when Steve Shives told you that you were going to be, that Milo was trouble, and he was right. And then we got into like a little tiff, and I didn't talk to them anymore. And then the next time I talked to him, which was like years later, online, he just completely decided, hey, I'm going to talk about male genitalia. And I felt personally, because I didn't know him, we were not friends, and then he tried to cover himself with the whole, oh, it's a joke, it's just a joke, why are you taking it so seriously? And it felt to me like he was basically trying to use BJs as a way to undermine our conversation. Rather than treating me with respect, he said he was going to suck my DICK, and it just felt like to me that he was doing it because he didn't have an argument. He just wanted to lash out, and he did so in a misogynistic way. And then he used the whole, oh, it's a joke, bro, it's just a joke, bro. And it was, yeah, a whole thing. So I don't know, about 2 years ago, something like that. Can I now paste this? Keep source formatting. Yes, all right, okay. Let's just take out all of this stuff. Sorry about this, guys. This happens when you don't organize your show ahead of time because you're an idiot. All right. I don't want to have this. All right. I know what I'll do. Sorry, everyone. I will just find, because I realize there's all this, there's this like SESTA thing on there. So design. Let's just go with a dark background design. Oh, sure. Go as dark as possible. Excellent. Okay, now we can do our own thing here. New slide. All right. First, let me check in with the chat and see you guys how you're handling all this drama conversation. Because for people who didn't know, they didn't know. Right. Let's see. Don't say. Well, for the first one, it was not years ago. So the first contact was before Milo got big, and then the second one, the last time that, so the whole suck my DICK thing was pre-COVID 2 years ago. So yeah, and I don't know that he's actually gotten woke on feminist issues. I think he's still pretty anti-feminist, if I'm honest. I mean, you can be good on LGBT issues and still be a complete sexist jerk. These two things are not incompatible, I just want to say. Right. Okay, so here's Kristi's 411, or like, this is how I think the universe exists. So I think I'm going to get some clip art in here. Insert. Okay, first, shapes. Okay, all right, yeah, perfect. All right. What color is this? Ooh, no, that's not very. I'll undo. All right, so in my here's my understanding, and a lot of this is according to like Berger and Luckman, other philosophers, on the production of knowledge, linguistics. Like Searle is another person I've read. Trying to think if there's anyone else who's done some stuff on that, but all right. First, let me see if I can. Oh, I do. I want to make this a little bit more big. That doesn't help. Okay. All right, we'll just do 100%. All right. So let's see. Can you see that? Probably not. Yes. All right. Just like here's how I understand the world works. This is my understanding. Can I get away without just the slide? Not the outline view. Just I don't want to see the slides at all. Perfect. Okay. So material. Have I even read Locke? Occasionally. All right. My understanding of the universe goes a little something like this. Material existence has existed as we perceive it in this current state since the Big Expansion, Big Bang, right? And before human minds, before any minds would have ever perceived it, it operates and interacts. However, the way that it interacts is, even though it's organized, it's happening blind, right? There are processes going on that are not deliberate. They're just sort of like, happening in the background or happening constantly. Interactions, chemistry, gravity, things coming together, things being entropy, pulling ththings apart, right? It's a mass of molecular, of moving matter and energy, right? It's like undulating, complete, just sort of like nebulous form of things. It's just, almost like inhaling and exhaling as it's constantly changing. Okay. And that will always, like, until the heat death of the universe or everything breaks down, like that process and the processes that follow from it will continue. Like, that's just completely independent. Now, if you want to call that, I hesitate to call that objective reality, because objective implies perception. And it applies a certain kind of perception. So I'll just call that like material reality. Not objective reality, just material reality. All right, then you get peeps. You get peoples. So can I get an icon? No. Smart graphic. Where's the clip art? Give me some pictures. Can I get to clip art from here? No. Give me my clip art. How do I throw a clip art in here? Insert. Smart chart 3D models. Screenshot pictures. Nope. Photo album. Where's the darn clip art? There used to be a thing for this. Then they changed the ribbons. Now it's all kinds of confused. Can I do a search? Nope. Oh, I thought this was going to be way easier than it is. And it ends up being a big old, like, pain in my butt. Smart graphics, chart shapes. Icons? Okay, let's go icons. Maybe there's like a person icon. Signs, symbols, occupations. Ooh, cut out people. Excellent. All right. Do I have stick people? Okay. I mean, I hate to be so white about this, but this one just makes me laugh. All right, so then there we go. So here's a universe, right? And then let's talk about like evolution happens, humans are formed, and right, two things first. One form is perception. All right, so we can perceive our universe without really having recognizing patterns. Ooh, yeah. No, definitely not that. Line. What's this? Ooh, yeah, that's better. Okay. Now the universe is made of an undulating yellow stuff. If I need clip art, use images of yarn bombing. Okay. All right. You think about like animals in the wild, right? They don't necessarily have the level of language we do. However, they clearly have perceptions of and reactions to the world. Birds have different calls for danger threats, right? And different activities. So creatures interact with the world. They experience it, it affects them, and then they react to it. You don't need language for that. You do need some things, though. You need some basic intellectual properties in order to do that, though. One is pattern recognition. You need to be able to recognize, for instance, like color patterns on your enemy, or a certain shape of a predator, or other like warning signs or things that show that food is okay to eat, food is not okay to eat, pattern recognition, and then recall, some kind of memory and recall. Now, I'm not being, again, this is like Kristi's understanding of the world. Like, I'm not saying this is definitive. Like, don't quote me on, like, I'm not writing a book on this. Other people have done this better, and professionally, right? So the idea that sentient minds can interact with and experience material reality is fine. As a postmodernist myself, again, no problems there. That's just describing things accurately, right? However, the next layer becomes the part where we stop thinking of minds merely as material, like, or thinking of beings as material beings, and start to think about a reality that exists for a community. A reality that is constructed in order to, in the same way that nature helps to order and structure, how like things like gravity and other things order and structure material reality. We have practices, norms that are built up that help us to regulate and normalize and routinize. Most importantly, routinize our experience of reality. Now, this is different, right? That's the difference between seeing 4 metal bars and a piece of wood resting on top of them and just noting that collection of objects. And then the next step is you see that collection of objects and you say, table. Imputing a conceptual concept that collects these things together and defines them in a way that you can then use that term table to communicate to someone else and they understand generally your meaning. Now we're getting into social existence. Now, I think animals, a lot of different types of animals have, they have maybe chemical interactions. I think, ants, for instance, communicate chemically. There is also bird calls or other ways of, think about different ways that dogs bark or cats meow, right? There's a lot of ways that you can see that animals are interacting and also trying to manipulate, or they're trying to get things out of the material world. They're showing consciousness. They're acting in a deliberate way. And what's very interesting about, or what's very unique about us, I should say, as human beings, is that we take this mess of stuff and we organize it more systematically than any other species that we've interacted with yet. So where insert text box here. And so the big contribution, big thing that separates out humans is the extent to which we have socially shared sounds that represent I can't spit tongue-tied today. Meanings. We have language. Language is very special. Alright? Language is how come alright, sure, why not? My keyboard is being alright. So we take these socially shared sounds that represent meaning. We build these up over time. Sometimes we ascribe values to them. Sometimes, you know, they serve as a purely functional thing, right? And they're merely descriptive with no value whatsoever, like rock. You know, rain can be good or bad depending on how much there is and what kind of, you know, like whether or not you read it. So there is an entire experience of our material reality that we have, and we can share our experiences by making these sounds and then assigning meaning to those sounds. Speculation, and it goes back to the idea that mimicry, you know, maybe early humans would go rah to make the noise of a lion or something, right? And that became the word or the sound associated with that predator. I actually can go back, and this is not a made-up example. This is an actual example. Right? Ancient Egyptians, the name for cat was meow. A meow. The thing that meows. It's a meow. Right? And this shows the way that we're almost like, you know, it's very easy for us with our ability to speak language to mime things, and other people will recognize that. That building up of the meow and someone going, oh yeah, a meow, and then them agreeing to call it a meow. This is the process of the social construction of reality. Because before, let's say person one goes, oh, meow, and then just decides, oh, that's the meow, 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 meow. And it can in its own mind call that person, that thing a cat forever or a meow, right? But until it says to another person, oh, meow, and that person goes, oh, that sounds familiar. I heard things saying meow before. Oh, that thing that says meow is a meow. And now they can go meow, 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 and talk about the meow. Now they have a socially constructed reality between them. All right. So let me get to more icons. What else do I have to, like, stickers? Oh, gosh, let's see. Oh, yeah, like, okay. We'll say, or we can represent a building. We represent, like, our house, a place to live, right? So we make these sounds, and they turn into, you're not making my life very easy, are you? There we go. We can routinize these sounds and systematize them into a series of objects and then verbs and then build sentences. And from this process of connecting noises that we make to the things that we see and then communicating with other people, we have, as a society, as a species, we've so slowly built up and organized everything that we experience into labels. The thing is, our experience of those things, where we cut them off, might seem natural, but they are also arbitrary. Like the boiling point for water is obviously something that we use, is an understandable thing because we can all experience boiling water. However, the fact that we choose the moment of boiling isn't special. It's just if you think about when water goes from unboiled to boiled, that's just a process of molecular movement, right? And then at some point for our perception of it, it seems to really change because like a critical mass has been reached, but that's our perception of it. Right? So we overlay our experience of material reality. And when, here in my opinion, when we consistently have the experiences of material reality over and over and over again, like with like a little note here, that descriptions of consistent experiences are our objective reality. It's not material reality. because we can't experience, in my opinion, the totality of material reality. You know, flies have greater range of vision. They can see into the infrared, right? Dogs can hear more frequencies than we can. That doesn't mean they don't exist. It means that they are outside our experience, and we need to, you know, what we do is we build tools to help us perceive these things. However, I don't think humans could ever, we can't perceive material reality directly. We can only ever perceive at most an objective reality we've built through our process of whatever abilities we have in our brains and the language that provides us a capacity to describe it. If you don't have a name for something, then you can't describe it and you can't share it. It's not socially constructed yet. So, yeah, and so here we have now, so we have this material reality, we have noises that we apply to it. Those noises end up having someone else come in and have meeting. So let me go ahead and insert another shape here, or another icon. Who else can we get here to talk to our computer guy? How about Pavna? That's too close. How about Mara? What's Mara doing here? Okay, yeah, sure, why not? Mara looks pretty happy. Right, where is it? Oh, it's downloading the picture. Hey, there you go, all right, so here's Mara. She's like, I know what a house is now. Okay, didn't know what that was before. It just to me looked like a collection of wood and things, but now, yeah, that's a house. Woohoo! I know what a house is. And so again, from my perspective, being a bit pedantic here, because I feel like I can explain it all the time, science, because it's based on language, and it's based on shared experiences, and because it requires triangulation from multiple people, it is socially constructed, both through its use of a socially constructed language, then the process of socially constructing maybe new terms or new descriptions or bringing in old ideas and applying them into a new way, and the social construction of producing knowledge by sharing it with others and have others interact with it and judge it or deem it to be reliable or not. Dawkins doesn't distinguish between the objects of analysis and the process of analysis and the production of knowledge that we have decided subjectively accurately describes that material reality. If people want to say that science isn't a social construct, then they have to tell me what a process of knowledge production is other than socially constructed. And as we've seen, Dawkins doesn't have a good grasp on these ideas. He thinks that because something is socially constructed, it doesn't exist. That's simply not true. Lots of things that are socially constructed materially determine people's lives. Money is an entirely social construct. Democracy or authoritarianism is the way that we organize our lives. The laws that we apply are all socially constructed. And all of them have a very profound physical effect on people's lives. So denying that social constructs are real, or denying that the understanding of social constructionism or constructivism is not worth our time or is merely, contemptuous postmodernist Marxist thinking, fails to realize the way in which human beings are pretty much the prime determinant of the experience of other human beings on this planet. In fact, our socially constructed world, like our societies, are having, a global impact on the quality of the planet. This drive for money, drive for power, drive for status, none of these things, money doesn't exist outside of us human beings. Fame can only exist within human society. All of these things that are driving the exploitation of the planet are based in socially constructed things that are important to us as human beings. So there is a material reality. In my opinion, there is a material reality that we can't perceive. We can't. We're just too limited by our understanding, our knowledge, and our physical bodies. We can't perceive all of it directly. The stuff that we can perceive, we build up knowledge through subjective experiences that are triangulated and aggregated over time. Now, I said objective reality, right? Let's talk about why this is our objective reality based on material reality is still a little meh, right? If you want to say, oh yes, if we all have the same experience of something, that means our experience is, our collective experiences allow us to treat that as knowledge. Well, people who have, for instance, color blindness, their experience of the world is completely valid. It's different, but that doesn't make it invalid. If we had, for say, let's say we had everyone in our population was born with what we now call color blindness, that would just be our experience of color. And we would find other ways of like noting the color spectrum without being able to directly perceive it because that's what we do already. So to say that objective reality, somehow exists is, I think that, we build up our understanding of objective reality. And this is where we get facts. Facts are socially constructed. And if facts can change, then we're not measuring a true thing independent of our knowledge. You see what I mean? If our facts never changed and were eternal, then you could say, oh yes, we're tapping into truths. But if our understanding of the world changes and our facts change to represent that, which I approve of and I applaud, then we don't access objective reality, in my opinion. Again, it's not that I'm not denying the existence of objective reality. What I'm saying is our construction of objective reality based on our personal subjective experience of material reality is not a one-to-one perfect reflection of the totality of existence. Right? So yes, science is a social construct. Anything that's a process of knowledge production is a social construct. Material truths exist before, independent of, and after us, fine. But our objective reality that we build through our subjective experiences does not suddenly become a thing outside of our construction and rarefied, like, whoop, clouds parting and like, oh, here are facts descended from heaven. No, they're still fallible. They're still corrigible. They're still things that we could tweak. So yeah, Richard Dawkins, it's just wrong. Sorry, Richard. You really should take a philosophy class. I know it's kind of late in life, but, jeden Tag ist einen Schultag oder ein Schultag. Every day is a school day. You can never stop learning, never stop growing. Okay. Right, all right, anyone? Hey, look, it's about time for the show to end, because I've got an hour. I'm going to do my D&D thing today as well. And, yeah, if people want to throw things in the chat here, if you want to discuss anything, have any questions, I will go back and go ahead and type them now. I will go back a little bit in the chat and scroll down. So, I love that we're talking about the primordial meow at this point. Yes, I can speak Egyptian and do kung fu. If you can say meow, you know one Egyptian word, ancient Egyptian word for cat. Yep. I heard those cats were as fast as lightning. They're kung fu fighting. Do I need to pay copyright now? Yep, you guys are riffing off kung fu fighting. Nice. Let's see. Meow, meow, yes. How do you phonetically represent the noise that a cat makes? If we could model the total reality as it is, we would recreate it exactly in its complexities. It's impossible, in my opinion. I think too. I think so too. It's simply because there's so many gaps in our knowledge. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff about gravitational forces. There's dark matter. There are things in the universe we haven't even explored yet. So yeah, the idea that we access objective reality in its totality is a silly thing to say. Mantis shrimps see more colors than we can. This is why I hesitate to say that human beings perceive objective reality. Our objective reality is a construction in our minds of the way that sensory inputs stimulate our brains, and our brains translate that information. Our brains translated information from its experience does not equal objective reality. It reflects, it is, if we want to be honest, it's like we're honest about our experience, it's a truthful representation of what we experience when interacting with the material world. but our experience of that interaction does not represent objective reality, because reality goes beyond what we can know. All right. Anything? Does that? Am I what I'm saying makes sense? Because I feel like I'm preaching the church of social constructionism here in my corner of YouTube, and I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over. Richard Dawkins, yes. And I don't think what I'm saying is that controversial. And yet, you know, King Crocoduck apparently was going to do like a big refutation of me. He had contacted someone asking what textbook I used in my graduate program to study statistics. And I got back with them and I said, well, actually, I taught basic and introduction to statistics. So if King Crocoduck wants it, here are my lecture notes that go all the way into various types of regression analysis and factor analysis, and a little bit of time series, I think, was thrown in there. Although I think time series panel data are a little too much to do in an intro course. But anyway, let's see. I'm going to... Don't block, Kevin. Thank you for the hangout. Yeah, no worries. Talk like an Egyptian. Okay. Magnifico, you do not know nothing. You are not Jon Snow. I did not explain the 60s. Oh, this is the base 60 system. All right. Okay. Well then, that is about an hour, folks. And I know I went a little bit late with my start, so I'm trying to balance it out by going a little bit over the hour. So we'll see what people say. Lucky Wanderer says, Kristi Winters, they think social constructionism is wrong because they think social constructionism means that there is no objective reality and you can't educate them otherwise. I hope they can be educated otherwise. I mean, honestly, like someone like Richard Dawkins really is motivated by money. Right? Like, I'm not saying that it's why he does everything, but he writes books for money, right? Money is socially constructed. If money is a social construct, does that mean it doesn't exist? Does it mean it can't impact people's lives? Does it mean you don't value it? I mean, how does this not make sense to people? How does the idea that science is a social construct? Why is this so controversial? I don't understand. Maybe you guys can find me some people who hate the idea. Maybe I should put on a debate. Debate me, bro, on why social science is a social construct. Anyone saw Alabama GOP declare president the greatest president ever? They're such suck-ups. Is Dave's cooking show part of objective reality? Sadly. What's the big deal with social constructs? While social, these are shared, they are subjective constructs that speak about our imagination and our singular individual perception. I mean, yeah, social constructs can be, they aren't just, they can be things in our imagination, but they can also be things like money, when we impute value and meaning onto an object. You know, like this is just a piece of wood, and yet, because of how it's carved, right? Because I do just have chopsticks lying around. I like Asian food. So I happen to have a chopstick handy. You already not only see this object, but you place it within a specific function. And not only that, you place that function within a certain culture. So it's just a piece of wood. But we bring everything else to this. So for me, social constructionism is not merely about like unicorns or things like that. Social constructs like democracy are like an ideal type that each individual has in their mind, and then collectively in a society there's disputes about how to enact that. Okay, and fame. He's impacted by fame. He's motivated, I'm sure, by fame. All right. Well, hey y'all, I can give you a little preview. I can tell you, Kevin and I are planning on doing a special episode of Racist White People coming up this week. There's I'll just say we've decided to, instead of each of us taking a person or an event or a topic, we have taken one unit of analysis and we are going to both bring information about it. So we're going to kind of like double team some racists coming up this week, so you can look forward to that. And if you haven't heard enough of my voice and my wonderful perspective on things, you can always go over to my D&D channel. Tonight I'll be playing D&D. We're going to be going off into our Acquisitions Incorporated side quest now, in the middle of our Dragon Heist adventure. You can always listen to me and the members of my party and do some D&D escapism. Otherwise, I will be back here next week with more things that are in my head, I guess, because that's what I do here on YouTube. And I will, you guys, I'm just looking random kind of comments you guys are having. Morrissey went kind of English Nazi, cringe. Yes, agreed. Who says you're dead to me from the neck up? You seem smart enough to me. Who is that? Is that me? Or is that someone else? Magnifico? Oh, yeah, it's from Nil Magnifico. I swear, you guys come here in the chat just to catch up with each other, and I'm an excuse. Like, I build the tavern, and y'all sort of show up for the social hour. Yes, Morrissey is a twat. Yes. All right, Boris, I meant when I say I feel anger, how can anyone actually be sure of what I feel if my definition of anger comes from what others told me and I understand? It's a slippery slope for language itself. Absolutely. Thank you, Neil. So yes, Boris, I think that's actually a really insightful comment, because I've seen psychological studies that show that in the socialization process, boys, they have, like, as they grow up, they have fewer words, or they have less subtle ways to identify emotions inside of them if they are socialized in places that discourage them from talking about their emotions. And that actually provides them with a severe disadvantage later on in life. So, let's take two people. One, let's say, is a girl, the other, a cis girl, cis boy. And they are socialized in such a way that the girl is expected to discuss her feelings and talk about her feelings. And so as a part of that process, she gets a lot of different subtleties of terms, like the difference between, like irritation, resentment, alienation, all that stuff. When she has an emotional problem, she has an entire vocabulary of subtleties and shades to give to her experience. But without that linking of emotions and feedback and sort of refining of identifying a word that speaks most clearly to your experience, when you have an emotion, you don't even have a way to describe it to get out. And that's another way that socially constructed norms can have very profound psychological and physical effects. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Oh, thanks, you guys. I am the emolument. Yeah. So I am back here next Sunday, as I am pretty much every Sunday. I might even take some vacation this week coming up, so I might be super chilled out. And yeah, I'm gonna gear up for my game later on today. It's been lovely. I will be back on the happy hour Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So see you over on Kevin's channel on YouTube or on Twitch. Back here on this Sunday. And also, Kevin and I agreed that I will be doing little excerpts of all of the Racist History Month clips. So this week coming up, probably, or and through the rest of March, I'm going to be creating little excerpts from the happy hour that focus on our Racist White People Month. So we have a whole playlist of those people can go back or share. All right. Thank you guys for stopping by. I appreciate your time and attention. Good day, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever it is, whenever it is that you are. Holy crap, where's my YouTube channel? Oh, there's the live stream. I couldn't find the live stream. I still can't find the live stream. Where's the live stream? Oh, there it is at the bottom of a different page. There, see, here, this is where we're going. All right. Now it's time for me to do the button thing. Yes, so I've been Kristi. You've been awesome. Be safe, be well, be healthy until the next time we see each other. Yeah. Bye.